What gets measured gets done. Or at least it has a better chance to get done. That's a really good tentative management, is if you want to change something and improve something, you have to measure it to know where you are and ideally where you want to go. I ask mentees to submit a weekly report, and in that they track their hours wasted. But one of the things that they frequently say to me is that they need to work more hours. They need to work 20 hours a day. And you can work 20 hours a day. At some point, the wheels come off, but certainly you can do that for a period of time. But what's more important than just the hours worked is, are you accomplishing anything? And so I asked them to put results for the day on their weekly report. And I'm going to walk through just what I think is important. Most of this I learned from Dan in the weekly reports that he puts together and asks people to submit. I've made some changes to it that I think help somebody understand if they're making progress or not. But basically, this is the format that Dan Pena has used for a long time. And what you don't want to be is you don't want to be the fly trying to get through the window. And by that, I mean that a fly can try to get through a window 24 hours a day. It's never going to happen. So the importance of tracking your results for the day are simply to take a look at what you've done. Take a look, is it producing results? And if it is, great, do more of the same or improve it. And if it's not, just don't do the same thing over and over and over again, like the fly through the window, where you're never going to get there. So that's the importance of a weekly report, I think. It's also the weekly report is really important to be able to say, okay, how much time am I really spending on this? It's amazing when you track your time, how much more free time you are. And then the other thing that I think is important is take the metrics that contribute to your success, identify those, and then track those week to week. How did I do last week, and how did I do this week? And am I headed in the right direction? So let me walk through a few things that I think are important in a weekly report. And this has evolved over time. So the first thing, as with anything, keep your big goals in front of you. Where do you want to get to? What do you want to build? Part of that is doing affirmations as well. And we've talked about what goes into a good affirmation, which is positive language of where you want to get to, being able to visualize it, and then saying those affirmations with emotion. And all three of those are important. The second piece, if you look at your performance metrics, you can, and we do a lot with LinkedIn. So what were your total connection requests sent this week? What were they sent the week before? How many of those connections were accepted? And how many people did you talk about? Track that. How many interviews did you do? And depending upon where you are in the process, you can do that for not only board prospects, accounting and legal prospects, financial institutions, and when you get all that put together, your acquisition targets. How many people did you reach out to? How many letters did you send? How many emails did you send to acquisition target? Really important. Someone I'm working with, Alan, also added an interesting category, which was procrastinated tasks. So he's identified those tasks that he pushed ahead, didn't do, and how much time that took. And then an important part of that is to understand, why didn't they get done? Most of the time it's fear. But if you understand what you didn't spend time on, you can work on those things. Tracking your calls every day, tracking your follow-ups every day, and tracking your top results for the day. You can just do that in a simple format. Then put your plans for next week. Then put your obstacles that are preventing you from getting to where you want to get to, which is important to know what you have to overcome. And then lastly, what the self-assessment is, which is something that Dan instituted. I think it's great, from 0 to 100%. Basically, how do you think you're doing against your potential? Interestingly enough, most people who are high performers rate themselves low, and most people that are mediocre rate themselves high. And I've seen that over and over again. Okay, a couple other last parts to this weekly report. What am I not telling Bruce? Some interesting stuff goes in there. What did I learn this last week? That can be really helpful. What could I have done better? And if you have a weekly report that has those elements in it, I think you're going to get a much better handle on how are things going, what needs to change, what you're doing well, and what you need to improve on. So I hope that helps. A weekly report is, I think, whether you share it with your mentor or you just share it with yourself and look at it. But remember that statement that what gets measured gets done if you action an action plan behind it. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments or ideas for future episodes, please email bruce@brucewhipple.com. And if you're not already on our mailing list, head over to brucewhipple.com and sign up and grab any of the free reports. That'll put you on the mailing list. There is a lot of free information you can use to acquire already profitable businesses. This is Bruce Whipple. Thanks for listening to the Business Acquisition Podcast. And remember, you miss 100% of the opportunities you fail to take. And procrastination truly is the thief of time. So do something today, please. Your future self will be proud of you.